Overview. On February 12, 2010, a tragic event unfolded at the University of Alabama in Huntsville, UAH, in Huntsville, Alabama, United States. During a routine gathering of the biology department, attended by around 12 individuals, Amy Bishop, a biology professor at the university, initiated a shooting spree using a Ruger P95 handgun. This incident resulted in the loss of 3 lives and injuries to 3 others. Bishop faced legal charges including 1 count of capital murder and 3 counts of attempted murder. Eventually, on September 11, 2012, she pleaded guilty to these charges. The decision was influenced by the pleas of the victims' family members who advocated against imposing the death penalty. Following the provisions of Alabama law, the jury reviewed a summarized version of the evidence on September 24. On the same day, Bishop received a sentence of life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. In the lead-up to these events, Bishop had been denied tenure at UAH in March 2009, marking the spring of 2010 as her final semester there, following university protocol. The shooting incident brought attention to Bishop's past history of violent involvement. Notably, in 1986, she was responsible for the accidental shooting death of her brother in Braintree, Massachusetts. Additionally, she and her husband were questioned in connection with a 1993 incident involving a pipe bomb aimed at her lab supervisor. The shooting. On the day of the shooting incident, Bishop conducted her anatomy and neurosciences class at the University of Alabama in Huntsville, UAH. A student later reported that Bishop's demeanor appeared entirely ordinary during the lecture. Subsequently, Bishop participated in a routine biology department faculty meeting held on the 3rd floor of the Shelby Center for Science and Technology. Attendees numbered around 12 to 13 individuals, and the gathering was characterized as a standard faculty assembly. Witnesses noted that Bishop's behavior before the shooting was also unremarkable. During the meeting, Bishop remained silent for approximately 30 to 40 minutes until just before 4 p.m. She then produced a Ruger P95 9mm handgun. A witness recounted that she abruptly stood up, retrieved the firearm, and commenced firing at each person present. The sequence began with the individual nearest to her and progressed down the line, targeting each individual's head. A survivor stressed that the shooting exhibited a deliberate method, akin to execution. The victims who were shot were positioned on one side of the oval table, while the 5 individuals on the opposing side quickly dropped to the floor to evade danger. After discharging multiple rounds, Deborah Moriarty, a biochemistry professor, recollected that she aimed the gun at Bishop and pulled the trigger, but only heard a click, indicating a potential jam or ammunition depletion. Bishop's initial demeanor was described as angry, followed by a state of confusion. Joseph Ung, an associate professor, recounted that Moriarty took initiative by confronting Bishop and beseeching her to cease the violence. Moriarty also aided the remaining survivors in forcibly removing Bishop from the room and barricading the door. Ung remarked that Moriarty's actions likely safeguarded their lives as she was the catalyst for their collective response. Investigation. The potential murder weapon was discovered within a 2nd-floor bathroom situated in the science building. Bishop lacked the necessary permit to possess a concealed firearm and was apprehended a short while later outside the same building. Following her arrest, Bishop was quoted expressing disbelief. "It couldn't have happened. There's no way." In response to inquiries about her colleagues' deaths, she responded firmly, "There's no way. They're still alive." After the shooting incident, police questioned Jimmy Anderson, Bishop's spouse, since she had contacted him to pick her up subsequent to the shooting. However, no charges were brought against him. The couple was observed leaving their residence carrying duffel bags on Friday afternoon before the shooting occurred. Anderson mentioned that Bishop had borrowed the firearm used in the incident and that he had accompanied her to an indoor shooting range during the weeks leading up to the event. Concerns arose shortly after Bishop's arrest that she might have set up a hazardous situation within the science building using a so-called herpes bomb, aiming to disseminate the virus. Notably, Bishop had been involved with the herpes virus during her postdoctoral studies and had penned a novel outlining the global spread of a virus akin to herpes. The police had already conducted a search of the premises, but solely discovered the murder weapon. Victims: 3 faculty members lost their lives, while another 3 were wounded. Among those who passed away were Gopi Podila, the chair of the biology department, Maria Ragland Davis, an associate professor of biology, and Adriel D. Johnson Sr., also an associate professor of biology. On the path to recovery were Luis Rogelio Cruz Vera, a biology professor who was discharged from the hospital on February 13, 2010, Joseph G. Leahy, also a biology professor, who left the hospital's care on April 14, 2010, but sadly succumbed to a heart attack on October 15, 2017. Additionally, Stephanie Monticchiolo, a staff assistant, was released from the hospital on March 29, 2010. Fortuitously, only a small number of students were present within the building during the shooting, and fortunately, none of them sustained any injuries. To honor the memory of the departed, a commemorative service took place at UAH on February 19, 2010, drawing an attendance of 3,000 individuals. About Amy Bishop. Amy Bishop, born on April 24, 1965, was 44 years old during the time of the shooting incident. She was married to Jimmy James Anderson and had 4 children. Her upbringing took place in Massachusetts, and she attended Braintree High School. She pursued her undergraduate studies at Northeastern University in Boston. Interestingly, her father, Samuel Bishop, held a teaching position in the art department at the same university. Her academic journey culminated with a PhD in genetics from Harvard University. Bishop's doctoral dissertation, completed in 1993 at Harvard, bore the title The Involvement of Methoxsatan, PQQ, in the Respiratory Burst of Phagocytes. Her research pursuits revolved around themes like inducing adaptive resistance to nitric oxide within the central nervous system and utilizing motor neurons to cultivate neural circuits on biological computer chips. A source from Harvard, who chose to remain anonymous, criticized Bishop's work, labeling it of subpar quality and unworthy of a doctoral degree. This judgment was pronounced as local scandal number 1. Her academic journey continued at the University of Alabama in Huntsville, UAH, where she became an assistant professor in the Department of Biological Sciences in 2003. At UAH, she was responsible for teaching 5 courses prior to the tragic shooting event. Before joining UAH, Bishop had also served as an instructor at Harvard Medical School. Together with her husband, she developed a portable cell incubator, which secured the 3rd position in a technology competition, earning them a $25,000 prize. Prodigy Biosystems, Anderson's employer, managed to raise $1.25 million to advance the automated cell incubator's development. UAH's president, David Williams, envisioned the incubator as a transformative force in biological and medical research. However, some experts consulted by the media viewed it as superfluous and excessively costly. Beyond her academic and scientific pursuits, Bishop was related to novelist John Irving as a second cousin. She had authored 3 unpublished novels, one of which featured a female scientist's battle against a pandemic virus while grappling with thoughts of suicide due to tenure uncertainties. Her novels reportedly delved into the theme of redemption from sin. During her time in Ipswich, Massachusetts in the late 1990s, she was associated with the Hamilton Writers Group and believed that writing could offer her an escape from academia. She often referenced her Harvard degree and family ties to John Irving to bolster her credibility as a serious writer. Fellow members of the group described her as intelligent yet confrontational in her interactions, often seeking acknowledgement. Despite having a literary agent, she had not managed to publish any of her works. Colleagues had raised concerns about Bishop's behavior, describing her tendency to disrupt meetings with peculiar tangents and unusual ideas. Terms like strange and crazy were used to depict her actions. Notably, a member of her tenure review committee expressed such concerns. After her tenure was denied and Bishop learned of this colleague's labeling of her as crazy, she lodged a complaint with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, EEOC, citing potential evidence of sex discrimination based on the remark. The professor did not retract his statement, remaining steadfast in his assessment of her erratic behavior and disconnection from reality. Bishop's teaching abilities were reportedly lacking, and she was unpopular among her students. She removed several graduate students from her lab, while others sought transfers to different departments. In 2009, multiple UAH students lodged complaints with administrators on multiple occasions, citing her ineffectiveness as an educator and her unsettling conduct. A petition signed by numerous students was sent to the department head, yet no changes were implemented in response to these grievances. Also in 2009, Bishop published an article in a Vanity Press medical journal listing her husband and 3 minor children as co-authors. This article was later removed from the journal's website, Tenure Denial, Appeal, and Previous Incidents. According to University President Williams, Bishop faced tenure denial in March 2009, implying that her teaching contract would not be extended beyond March 2010. She lodged an appeal with UAH's administration, which ruled against her without assessing the tenure application's content, citing adherence to policy. Notably, the faculty meeting where Bishop initiated gunfire was unrelated to her tenure status. Bishop's spouse characterized the recent months as marked by the contentious tenure denial. He described the tenure process as an arduous and prolonged struggle. Despite believing that Bishop exceeded tenure qualifications, he acknowledged her anxiety about potential job loss without a successful appeal. She reached out to the University of Alabama System's Board of Trustees and retained a lawyer who discovered various issues with the process. One point of contention revolved around the timing of the publication of 2 of her papers in relation to tenure evaluation. It was reported that Bishop prioritized patent acquisition over paper publications and received multiple warnings about the need for more publications to secure tenure. Previous incidents. In an earlier incident on December 9, 1986, Bishop, then 21, fatally shot her 18-year-old brother Seth at their Braintree, Massachusetts home. Utilizing a 12-gauge pump-action shotgun, she discharged 2 rounds, one into her bedroom wall and the other into Seth's chest. Subsequently, she aimed the shotgun at a moving vehicle on an adjacent road and attempted to enter the vehicle. Bishop and her mother asserted that the shooting was accidental when reporting to the police. However, an unfired round found in the shotgun's chamber suggested that Bishop manipulated the gun after firing. After a brief inquiry, the Massachusetts State Police echoed the initial assessment by the Braintree Police that the shooting was unintentional. Bill Delahunt, then Norfolk County District Attorney, did not press charges. Records detailing the incident had vanished by 1988. Braintree Police Chief Paul Frazier stated that the records had been removed from the files in 2010. Frazier later claimed that the initial accident characterization was inaccurate, insinuating that Bishop's release was influenced by political connections between her mother and the police chief. Others believed that there might have been a cover-up by then-Chief John Polio to protect Bishop due to personal affiliations. In 2010, missing files were recovered, leading to a re-evaluation of the case. Norfolk County District Attorney Bill Keating concluded that probable cause existed to arrest Bishop for subsequent actions after fleeing the scene. These actions included brandishing the shotgun at employees of a nearby auto dealership. However, the statute of limitations had lapsed for these charges. A judicial inquest was ordered to scrutinize the 1986 shooting. New evidence suggested that Bishop's intent might have been influenced by a news article describing a similar crime involving a 12-gauge shotgun. The inquest took place, during which Braintree police officers contradicted each other regarding interactions with Judy Bishop, Amy's mother. Subsequently, on June 16, 2010, Amy Bishop was indicted for first-degree murder in her brother's death, nearly 24 years after the incident. Based on the available evidence, some speculations suggest that Bishop might have intended to frighten or shoot her father, but mistakenly targeted her brother. This theory aligns with the protagonist of one of Bishop's unpublished novels, where a child accidentally kills a friend's brother while trying to intimidate. Patrick Radden Keefe explored this possibility after reviewing the case details. Pipe bomb incident. In 1993, Bishop and her spouse came under suspicion for sending 2 letter bombs, which failed to detonate, to Paul Rosenberg, a professor at Harvard Medical School. Rosenberg had been Bishop's supervisor at a neurobiology lab in a children's hospital, and he had given her a negative evaluation that resulted in her resignation. Following this incident, Bishop was described as being on the brink of a nervous breakdown, and her husband reportedly expressed violent intentions toward Rosenberg, mentioning shooting, stabbing, or strangling. Although the investigation was concluded without any charges being brought forth, the case was revisited after the Huntsville shootings, yet it remains unresolved. Incident at the International House of Pancakes, IHOP. On March 16, 2002, Bishop was engaged in an altercation with another patron at an IHOP restaurant located in Peabody, Massachusetts. The other patron had taken the last available booster seat at the restaurant, prompting Bishop to confront her. When the woman refused to relinquish the seat, Bishop struck her in the head while proclaiming, "I am Dr. Amy Bishop." Bishop admitted guilt for the assault and was placed on probation as a result. While prosecutors recommended her attendance at anger management classes, Bishop's husband revealed that she never attended these sessions. Charges. Following the Huntsville shooting incident, Bishop faced legal charges that encompassed 1 count of capital murder and 3 counts of attempted murder. Authorities seized several items, including her computer, her family's minivan, and a substantial binder containing documents related to her tenure battle. Acquiring an undisclosed attorney, she was detained at Madison County Jail without the possibility of bail. Her court-appointed lawyer was identified as Roy W. Miller. The prosecuting team declared their intention to pursue the death penalty right from the start. According to state law, Bishop was eligible for either capital punishment or life imprisonment. On February 15th, during a private hearing led by an Alabama judge, Bishop was formally presented with the charges against her. Subsequent to the hearing, she was placed under suicide watch, a standard practice in such cases. Prior to her arraignment, she managed to speak with her husband for approximately 2 minutes. He noted, "She appears to be holding up." On March 12th, while executing a search warrant at Bishop's residence, authorities uncovered a suspicious device, prompting the evacuation of the nearby neighborhood. Eventually, the bomb squad confirmed that the device was not explosive. Miller visited Bishop in jail and reported that she had no recollection of the shooting incident but was very coherent. He noted a certain awareness in her that her grasp on reality is shaky. Initially, he had attributed severe mental health problems to Bishop, potentially paranoid schizophrenia, but he later corrected himself, acknowledging that he had spoken prematurely. By February 2013, Bishop informed Keefe that she was receiving treatment for paranoid schizophrenia using haloperidol. Miller informed a journalist from the New York Times, "This isn't a mystery. This woman committed these offenses in front of the world. The issue in my mind is her mental state at the time of these actions." Miller expressed his intention to involve 1 or more psychiatrists in evaluating his client, as Bishop had previously experienced memory lapses. He remained uncertain about her sanity, leaving the determination of her culpability to a psychiatrist. Nonetheless, he did confirm her remorse for her actions. On June 18th, just 2 days after being indicted for her brother's murder in a reopened case, Bishop attempted suicide while in Huntsville jail. She survived the attempt, receiving medical care before returning to her confinement. Her husband expressed dissatisfaction with the lack of communication from authorities about the incident. In November 2010, survivors Leahy and Monticchiolo initiated lawsuits against Bishop and Anderson, seeking damages. In January 2011, legal representatives for Davis's and Johnson's families filed wrongful death lawsuits against Bishop, Anderson, and UAH. In September 2011, Bishop entered a plea of not guilty by reason of insanity. In 2012, a letter from the spouse of one of the deceased researchers reached the presiding judge. The letter conveyed the immense suffering the family endured due to their loss and expressed a lack of desire for another life to be taken as a result. In response, Bishop's legal team proposed changing her plea to guilty in exchange for the prosecution refraining from pursuing the death penalty. Chief Prosecutor Robert Broussard subsequently engaged with the 9 survivors, discovering that none of them sought a death sentence for Bishop. Based on this feedback, Broussard decided against pursuing the death penalty. Consequently, Bishop altered her plea to guilty, sentencing, and appeal. Outcome: Bishop received her sentence on September 24, 2012, leading to a life imprisonment without the chance of parole. Norfolk County chose not to pursue her extradition. Through her legal representation in Massachusetts, Bishop expressed her desire for a trial to clear her name in relation to her brother's demise. Currently, she is incarcerated at Julia Tutwiler Prison for Women located in Wetumpka, Alabama. As of 2020, her security level is assessed as medium, and she resides within a dormitory setting rather than a traditional cell block. Having entered a guilty plea in September 2012 and waiving her right to appeal at that time, Bishop unexpectedly initiated an appeal process on February 11, 2013. Her appeal contended that she had not been adequately informed about the rights she would be relinquishing by entering a guilty plea. Furthermore, it asserted that she had not been accurately informed about the minimum extent of the potential punishment, and that the circuit court had omitted to clarify her option to retract her plea. However, on April 26, 2013, the Court of Criminal Appeals in Alabama dismissed the appeal. The court's decision was rooted in the fact that Bishop had not challenged the validity of her guilty pleas during the proceedings at the circuit court. Additionally, she had not filed either a motion to withdraw her pleas or a motion for a new trial.